Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Vinny back with Proguides. We got another video for you this time on items that you are probably using wrong. So let's learn the best way to change that so that you can become a professional user of items. And yes, that is on my resume. 8 active items, not a problem. That doesn't scare me, and it shouldn't scare you either. Let's get into it. But first, as always, we got the question of the day for you. What is the worst item in Dota 2 in your opinion? Okay, I know it's just gonna be everyone saying Holy Locket, but I don't know, maybe somebody's a different opinion. Please don't even try to change my mind. Before they reworked it, it was actually better. I could buy it on Necro when it increased HP regen. That was pretty good. It's so trash now. Starting out this list at number 1, we've got the Yule Scepter of Divinity. This little white hurricane stick is almost ubiquitous. It's in every game on multiple heroes at high level. It has been nerfed 5 times now, and it's still in every game. Why is Yule's so good? Let's talk about that first. So Yule's is amazing because what other item can make you invulnerable, like truly invulnerable for 2.5 seconds? There's really nothing. Like Ghost Scepter, you're only invulnerable to physical, BKB only to some magical. There's still stuff that goes through it, and it interrupts TPs. It's the cheapest TP interrupting item in the game. That alone is really valuable. So speaking about TPs, first thing people use wrong with Yule's is that they use it right away on somebody who's TPing. If you are in a solo kill situation, such as an Alina or Leshrac, and you're trying to solo kill somebody, you should not be using a TPing target right away. Why is this? Well, you're essentially throwing away almost 3 seconds of additional stun, because while they're TPing, there's nothing they can do. They're effectively stunning themselves when they TP. If you Yules them right away, you're ending your stun prematurely. Do you see what I'm saying here? What you should be doing is you should click on your opponent to check their status bar, see how long they have left on their TP, and then once you think they have about a second or less left, then you can go ahead and use that Yules. The only time I don't do this is if they're trying to juke me through the trees and I just barely found them. Then you're not sure how long their TP is left and you don't really want to take that risk. Then I'll probably Yules right away. Now about defensive Yules. Most of the time, if you are trying to escape, you're going to want to Yules an opponent and not yourself. If you just Yules yourself, all you're doing is delaying the inevitable, and sometimes that is enough. Sometimes that is good. It'll give more time for your team to arrive. But if you're trying to escape a solo kill situation like we just discussed, you should always Yules your opponent. That way you can move away while they're up in the air for 2.5 seconds. If you Yules yourself, well, you're going to die when you come back down. This changes when you're heavily outnumbered, maybe like in the middle of a team fight. If you get found out by multiple heroes and you have no way to live, then go ahead and Yules yourself, because Yulesing one opponent is probably not going to be enough, and then just hope your team comes and at least avenges your death. And of course, Yules is great for setting up combos. This one is something that you need to practice, you need to get the muscle memory for, but there's a big secret tip with this one. Yules does exactly 720 degrees or 2 full circles of rotations when you're in the air. So what you can do is you can use that to help you time your combo if you know how long it takes. For example, Shadow Fiend's 1.6 seconds to channel that ultimate. We know that Yules puts them in the air for 2.5 seconds, does 2 full rotations, therefore 1 rotation takes 1.25 seconds. So if you're a mathematical genius, what that means is that you're gonna want to press that ultimate button when they're about 75% through a single spin. And you just adjust from there. You know, 1 spin takes 1.25 seconds. So if you know the cast animation on your Leshrac stun, your Lina stun, whatever it is, this becomes a really game-breaking tip that means they cannot BKB. Next up at number 2, we're going to talk about Manta style. So Manta style is both offensive and defensive, wonderful item. The main use of this item is illusion synergy and also the self-dispel. If you are low MMR, I guarantee you, if you're a carry player, you can gain at least 500 MMR by simply using your Manta style better. I see it misused non-stop at low MMR. Wasting this results in death so often. So let's talk about the nitty-gritty of Manta style. So when you activate it, you become invulnerable for 1/10 of a second, meaning yes, you can pull off those big pro plays where you dodge Sven stun, Wraith King stun. Things like those are actually not that hard. I think it is okay to use your Manta style to try and dodge those. It's definitely worth practicing in the lobby. You can get things like that are slow moving projectiles pretty darn consistently. It's definitely worth practicing if you are playing against those heroes a lot, and I know you are. Sven's in every single game, so. Use number 1, dodging projectiles or spells. You can dodge other things too. It's a lot harder and a bit luck based to dodge some of those other spells, but maybe if you're really that good, go ahead, practice dodging fissure. Use number 2, the dispel. You have to identify what there is to dispel in the game. You gotta know what's important. If there's orchids, if there's treants, root, you should really know everything that can be dispelled, even if it's not very high impact. Maybe it's just Jakira Liquid Fire or Queen of Pain Dagger. You should still know. What you need to do in your head is keep track of these abilities and items to determine if you can use your Manta style yet. If you are just starting out the fight and you pop your Manta style, you are screaming at your enemy, come orchid me and kill me, I can die now. Use number 3, farming. But there's a right and a wrong way to do this. So let's say you're that anti-mage. People are probably trying to hunt you. There are people who have bought orchid, who knows? You should not be using your hero to farm the dangerous stuff. You should use your Manta to farm the dangerous stuff. If there's a hero like Quaswex Invoker who went Orchid to counter us, I probably wouldn't even Manta to farm unless I was immediately gonna blink away and TP out. Reason being, heroes like Invoker and Clinks, they could be hunting us easily and we wouldn't even know. We don't want to dishonor our family when we get caught standing still, trying to micro the illusions and then just die. That is, you're gonna get voice line, you're gonna get togged into another planet. Then you have the last use of Manta, which is to juke / reset animations. Now, what do I mean by reset animations? For example, Doom has a hefty cast point. So if you get caught and he's trying to doom you, you can pop your Manta and now he has to recast it. It sounds pretty minor, but it actually makes a huge difference, especially if you're just controlling them all together and now he's not sure which one's the real one. Oh, I actually forgot. It's so minor that I forgot to mention it. Offensive purposes. Obviously, yes, Manta does damage, especially if you're a hero like Juggernaut, Anti-Mage, Naga Siren, PL, these types of things. But I would still hold back on it unless you're 100% sure it's a solo kill situation, or if you can really tell that you're gonna need that extra little bit of damage. At the 3rd spot, Healing Salve. Yes, just a simple salve, still misused all the time. What's the first mistake? Not buying it. There's very few lanes where you'll end up not needing a salve. You will need salve, especially if you're position 5, you will need salve for your carry 100% of the time. Even if you think you don't need it, if you think that way, it means that you're not playing the lane aggressively enough. If you think you don't need it, that means it's a good lane for you. If it's a good lane for you, that means you can go aggressive for those kills, which means you're gonna need a salve to heal up after them. There is no way that you will not need a salve. And yes, you can use the courier to bring it out later, but don't forget that they nerfed a couple patches ago courier move speed when there's regen on it. It makes those early couriers very, very easy to snipe. Another bad thing I see people do with Salve, even at high MMR, is not backpacking their HP items when using it. I think a lot of people know at this point that if you backpack your stat items while you use bottle, you're effectively getting more efficiency out of that bottle. But still, I don't see people do it for Salve nearly as much. It matters way more for Salve than bottle. It heals more on Salve. And lastly, having a Salve is always great for tower dives. Towers no longer dispel any sort of regen, so if you or a teammate is tower diving, you can use that Salve to make sure that they get out alive. At the number 4 spot, it's actually a lot in one, and that is just neutral items in general. Even at the absolute highest level, I'm one of the only, I'm not trying to brag here, but I'm one of the only people I see that actually backpacks multiple neutral items. You guys should be doing that. Orb of Destruction, still very good 60 minutes in, because what if you need to go Throne? You're gonna want the ability to take that out of your backpack. I'm not at the absolute highest level or anything, but when I do play with those players, I don't see them do this. I don't see them keep shoveling their backpacks so that they can have the chance to at least dig up a bounty rune every so often. I don't see them have a different item in instead of Craggy Coat for when they're pushing. And yes, I can and I do backpack my Craggy Coat when all the enemy is dead when I'm hitting a tower, but instead of just backpacking it, what if we kept a damage item in our backpack to swap out when we are pushing? Vampire Fangs. I think it's a really bad tier 2 item, but it's still useful for doing Roshan if you don't have other forms of lifesteal. Even if you do have other forms of lifesteal, it doesn't hurt to have more when you're doing Roshan. Stuff like that. You should be keeping some of these items, guys. Situations could easily arise where you need them. And lastly, you knew it had to be here, Black King Bar. I'm not even gonna get into when to buy this item versus when not to, because that is a whole nother video in and of itself, but let's just talk about simply how to use it. What does a right versus wrong usage look like? The right way to use this item usually looks like doing it to commit to get a kill. The wrong way is just popping it anytime somebody shows up on your screen, not popping it at all, of course, or popping it after you've already been hit by every single spell in a solo situation. The biggest tip I can give you is look at your enemies when they're trying to force your BKB. Figure out if they're just trying to toy with you and make you use it, because they might not actually be planning to commit on you. They will orchid you, they will root you, but maybe they aren't actually committing. Look at them. You don't need to BKB just because you got orchided. See, are they actually trying to go on me? You should also be aware of what heroes the enemy has. If they have instant disable, then yes, you may need to pop your BKB right away, depending on how ready your team is. If your team is ready, a lot of the times I will let myself tank those spells. I will let myself get hexed because I know that once I get hexed, they might commit on me and my team is going to surprise them. Thanks for watching the video. We appreciate you guys so much. Drop a comment, drop a like or a sub. I hope to see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.